Professor Femi Olufunmilade, who is currently on a scholarly sojourn in the United States. And so his paper is going to be delivered to us online, and he's standing by. The title of his paper is Migrants Influx into Yorubaland and Rising Insecurity. What is to be done? Professor Femi Olufunmilade is the director of the Buratai Centre for Contemporary Security Affairs, Igbinedion University, Okada, Edo State. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, live here and online, kindly warmly welcome Professor Femi Olufunmilade as he delivers his paper. Prof, thank you for joining us. Distinguished gentlemen, here we go.
To commend you for putting this program together, because security comes first in the order of human priorities. You need to be secure before you can pursue any other human endeavor, whether economic, whether cultural, and what have you, or political. So for this reason, this is a very noble endeavor, and I'm proud to associate myself with it. Now, my paper that focuses the influx of migrants into Yorubaland and the security implications arising therefrom and what to do, we'll begin by looking at it from an academic point of view. I'm an academic. Why do we even have government in the first place? You look at one of the social contract theories by Thomas Hobbes in a book called Leviathan. He asserted that human society was in a chaotic, anarchic situation before finance. And what led to that was people were tired. They got fed up of killing one another for supremacy, for dispossession, etc. In that, he said man was in a state of nature that was nasty, brutish, and short. But fortunately for man, God had endowed him with reason, the capacity to reason things out and make a better choice in a circumstance. And so men came together and said, look, we need someone that is superior to, that will be superior to all of us, to whom we are going to surrender all these unfettered powers that we presently exercise to the detriment of all. And that was what led to the establishment of a government, a powerful government that exercised superior, higher, leather power over everyone. And they lay down the ground rules of conduct. If you do this, this is what will happen to you. Something similar to what you call a law today or constitution, or even in so-called primitive societies, they also have their customs and traditions. If you steal, they had their sanctions. If you commit adultery, they had their sanctions. And the person to enforce it is that government, whatever name it is called, whether it's a monarch, whether it's a democratically elected personality, or what have you, or even if it's a dictator. So, what I'm trying to point out by taking this excursion into the philosophical origin of governance is that the primary purpose of government is security of lives and property. People submit their rights, they pay taxes, they perform civic obligations under the authority of a government because they expect something in return. And in our constitution, no matter how much we have vilified it, thank goodness in the 1999 constitution, section 14, there is a provision there that says the primary responsibility of government is the security and welfare of the people. That's the primary. Every other thing, oh, I'm constructing a railway, I'm improving the aviation sector, I am building top-notch hospitals. If there is no security of lives and property, every other thing you are doing is meaningless. But where do we find ourselves in Nigeria today? Particularly since 2010, when Boko Haram reared its ugly head. Progressively, we have moved from one level of insecurity to another. Now we have insecurity on multiple fronts, in multiple forms. There are the so-called bandits. We have the herdsmen. We have the religious terrorists, those who claim what they are doing, the terror they are unleashing is to Boko Haram and lately their allies, ISWAP, Islamic State of West African Province, and so on and so forth. And we have gangs of kidnappers that theirs is neither ideological nor religious nor ethnic in character. They are basically into a criminal enterprise. And all of them taken together have become a source of great menace to our living in Nigeria, and with particular reference to Yorubaland. We discover that because we're in one country and there is freedom of movement and there is freedom for any Nigerian to reside wherever he likes, areas that are highly impacted by this wave of insecurity have experienced mass movement of people. I'm talking in particular about the northern part of the country, northeast, now followed by northwest, and to some extent, the north central, the Benue Plateau axis, are also witnessing a lot of disruption to peaceful living. Now, you see that initially, the migration from the northeast was to contiguous nations like Cameroon, Niger Republic. We had refugees running into thousands upon thousands who had fled Nigeria to the nearest safe haven as a result of this multiple wave of insecurity. At the same time, we have those who embarked on southward movement. You see them in large numbers in these trailers coming from the north, bringing cattle, bringing food, and some bringing nothing except just human cargo. And they have moved into Yorubaland, which they consider the most peaceful part of the country, in thousands of vehicles. So if you go to Ojo area and other entry port into Yorubaland, you will see them you will count and you lose count on a daily basis. So we have a lot of these people in Yorubaland who are moving on a scale that have some links with the rising wave of insecurity in the northern part of the country. Some of them are farmers and so on. But among this multitude are criminals also. Those who don't have any skill, they are not coming here to sell fruits. They are not coming to ride motorcycles. They are coming to kidnap people. When they arrive, they move into the bushes and they come with their guns and all that. And they operate in a way that is disruptive of lives and livelihood, particularly in the rural communities, in Okeogun, in Ibarapa, Yewa, parts of Ekiti and Ondo State, and so on. It's not something that began yesterday. It's been on, and it reached its crescendo under the administration of the former president, late Muhammadu Buhari. And while he was in power, I, for one, among others, had cause to suspect there was state complicity. Because when people take their lives in their hands and apprehended some of these criminals and they hand them over to security agents, before you could say Jack Robinson, they get released, and they not only get released, they are released with their guns. And when you try to find out why was this person released, I'll give you an example. Iskilu Wakilu. He had been raining terror, like that was what his calling was on the people of Ibarapa, particularly in a village called Kajola. He was a lord of the manor in that place. And he had a lot of his boys. They would kidnap women, rape them. They would dispossess farmers. They go to people's farms, take whatever they wanted. If you raise an eyebrow, they get you killed summarily. And there had been outcry, but the law enforcement agents, who are primarily in the hands of the federal government, even though they will say they have state command of this, state command of that, the governors do not have cannot give them the last order. If the governor issues an order and somebody in Abuja countermands it, that's the end of the order. They apparently did nothing. And so Gani Adams sent some of his OPC boys to apprehend them in the Yoruba way, the man and his aides. And the instruction was they should not be killed. They should be handed over to the Oyo State Police Command, which they did. But to our greatest surprise, by the time Iskilu Wakilu was brought to the police headquarters at Yaganku, they provided him a beautiful chair to sit upon. The police people there did that. And what happened to our men that apprehended him, that we thought should be commended? They were locked up for embarking on illegal police duties. No, who sent you to go and arrest someone? Is it your job? Are you a police officer? We don't know what became of Iskilu Wakilu, but we know that he has disappeared. He has long left the police station. I'm not sure he spent 2 days there. But our boys were even taken to court until after a lot of plea and pressure, I think they were released. So that is just one example of why people like me and others who are concerned, felt there was complicity at the highest level. And that was why I and others got a petition written to the International Criminal Court that Yorubaland was facing genocide. Our people that pushed that petition were mostly in Netherlands. I don't think we pursued it further. Since the change of government, maybe people feel that there will be a new dawn in terms of security, because the International Criminal Court admits cases brought by individuals or groups once it borders on crime against humanity, genocide, and the rest of them. Now, that is, let me then quickly hasten that one of the things you can do if you believe that the powers that are supposed to protect you are the ones that are behind the scene. They are the puppeteer, directly or indirectly. behind the carnage, the destruction, the killings going on in your homeland, one of the things you can do is to draw the attention of the international community. You can do that legally, as we tried to do by petitioning the ICC. You can also do it using diplomatic channels. The United Nations, for instance, enacted a principle in 2005, the entire UN General Assembly. It's called the Principle of the Responsibility to Protect. It has three elements. State responsibility, that is, every state, every government in a country has the responsibility to protect its own citizens and any other person within its territorial jurisdiction. Secondly, there is international assistance. This principle of responsibility to protect recognizes the possibility that sometimes a state could be overwhelmed and may not be able to contain the threats to the security of its own people. It can seek international support, international cooperation, military assistance, including training of its own troops, supply of equipment, and even deployment of troops. And that is why sometimes we wonder that this protracted, long, drawn battle with all kinds of agents of destabilization, why is it that the Nigerian state has not requested for international assistance beyond bringing some experts to come and give you training and all the rest of that? Why not approach nations that have the capacity, etc., to deal with terrorists, to come in with their troops and assist you? The third aspect of the principle is collective response. In a situation where it is clear that a state has failed woefully in protecting its own citizens and other people living within its territorial jurisdiction, and maybe it will not even seek help, the international community cannot just sit helpless and say, oh, that state enjoys territorial integrity and we also have a principle of non-interference. No, that principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of a member state will be set aside for the overriding purpose of protecting lives of human beings. And it is at that point you hear of measures like peacekeeping force being brought in, or a peace enforcement operation. That peace enforcement will involve bringing in combatants that will actually fight to disarm whoever is behind the killings going on in a country. So these are externalities, legal measures, using diplomatic channels, especially when you believe that those who are supposed to protect you, either willfully or by default, are unable to do the needful. So that before your people are exterminated, you seek external support, you seek external help. Now, what can we do for ourselves? Thankfully, a lot of what can be done has been captured in the speech of the Director General of the Dawn Commission. It spoke about Amotekun. I think he also spoke about some efforts being made in about foreign rangers in Ekiti, I think, and Oyo State. Those are very laudable initiatives. These are subnational states also taking under the framework of responsibility to protect, trying to do something. So one thing I will want to say right away is that we need to engage the present federal government, being headed by a Yoruba man, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Before we start talking about state police, which have been canvassing for everywhere, to make it possible for state self-defense apparatuses, not only in Yorubaland, in other troubled regions of the country, to have access to arms and ammunition commensurate or even superior to what those laying siege on our communities bear. You cannot expect people to perform any meaningful wonder carrying double barrel and at most pump action. The least we expect should be AK-47. You can't be approaching me with a gun and I'm carrying a catapult. I may not be as lucky as David in the Bible was. So, there are individuals in this country that are licensed to bear guns for self-protection. Retired generals, retired police officers, private individuals who have never been members of the armed forces, the so-called big men, many of them have guns. So, why is it that states cannot be licensed to acquire the type of guns that will enable them to secure their territory effectively when they bear the title Chief Security Officer of the state? And our Amotekun personnel get killed cheaply, not because they are not brave or they are not well trained, but because the enemies they are being mobilized to fight carry superior arms. So this does not require constitutional amendment. It does not require any new law by the National Assembly. What it requires is administrative action, executive action by the president. If need be, let him just sign an executive order, or let him just give a directive that states who want to buy arms, acquire good arms for their self-defense forces, whether you call it Amotekun, whether you call it Foreign Rangers, whether you call it vigilance, should follow these protocols and they will be able to get what they need. I'm not saying that they should make it an indiscriminate affair whereby people with other motives can then lay arms on sophisticated weapons. No, but there should be a framework which the president, in conjunction with the security chiefs themselves and other stakeholders, people like us, can assist in laying down that framework, the caliber of guns you can get, the type of training you can even give to your defense forces, etc. So that what we have, Oyo State, I learned as about 3,000. The Dawn Commission DG mentioned that. I think that will go a long way in defending Oyo State against all kinds of threats, because Ibadan, for instance, is relatively safe, it's relatively secure. So we'll be talking more of Oyo North, Ibarapa, and all such areas. And having 3,000 well-equipped, well-trained personnel, I think we go a long way. And don't forget, we still have the regular forces of the federal government, the Nigerian police, the DSS, civil defense. They are still there. Very effective manner. So that is one thing I think we should root for by all available means. Maybe engaging our lawmakers, our representatives in Abuja, or mobilizing our governors to meet the president. This is something that we can classify as a short-term measure so that we can have a safe haven across Yorubaland. Now, talking about this influx of criminals, we can do is we need what I would call state as identity card. State identity card. There is nothing wrong in having a state identity commission in each state of the Southwest. And their job will be to ensure that everybody permanently resident in Oyo State has an ID card. There will be a database for that. And that ID card or that database will show where you live, your name, your gender, your age, etc. And if you are not from Oyo State, where are you from? It can also indicate it. The essence of that is to be able to do easy identification of non-residents, those who just come to perpetrate evil can be easily apprehended. When you are asked for your ID card because you are suspected to be a marauder, to be a criminal, and you are unable to present any, and even when you present any, it can then be investigated to be sure what you are presenting is genuine. I believe that when these criminals know that there is no hiding place for them, then it's going to be easier. And when anybody is caught, then you go and look at the profile, and that will give you a lead on where these problems are emanating from. It's very important. It's not in this talk I'm going to give you the whole details of why I'm even recommending this. But it's very, very important. Because now I'm in the US, and you discover that no matter how clever you are at committing a crime, it's just a matter of hours before you are apprehended. We've seen it happen in many televised incidents of a shooter here or there. They have a way of getting across to you through your fingerprints and all that. Because if somebody goes somewhere and commits a crime, his biometrics, let's say in Oyo State, is already taken. So if there is a crime scene, and we have fingerprint experts in Amotekun, they will immediately get a lead as to who did it. And if the person is not on the database, they will know that this is from somebody outside Oyo State. You know, these are some of the benefits of having, and it will also help in planning. You know how many are children, how many are in school, how many are not in school. If they are not in school, why are they not in school? How many have a home, or how many are sleeping on the street? It will help you to plan, and you will know how many people are resident in a particular area and so on. So it has other purposes, it has other usefulness. Now, another thing we can do is that Yorubaland is a vast territory. If you travel to Okeogun, you travel to Yewa and other farming communities, you discover that some settlements are sparsely populated. And the nearest police station, or you will travel miles to see any sign of law enforcement. Because of such areas, we need to also intensify community self-defense initiative, whereby communities are encouraged, especially the vulnerable ones, are encouraged to provide volunteers, especially young people, that can be trained by the nearest Amotekun formation. I don't want to be talking of Nigerian police now, because we are talking of how to protect our homeland. The nearest Amotekun formation, maybe there will be a unit to be created in each Amotekun formation for community self-defense initiatives. If a group of communities provide 50 young men, the Amotekun training unit, volunteers training unit, we train them, and then we'll also empower them with the appropriate guns. We are believing that a regime of access to required weapons will ensue very soon with the support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The guns, regular inventory will be taken of them. If they give them bullets, if any is expended, maybe on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, there will be an inventory taken. If 10 bullets are missing, you need to give account of why it is missing. So that those community self-defense forces will provide the first line of defense against any threat within their communities. And that will provide some form of deterrence, because why it's easy for people tormenting various communities in Nigeria to do so is that they know that nobody carry guns. That these communities are just peasant farmer communities, they don't have guns. So they can easily go there and do and undo, kill people wantonly, gather girls, take them away, and turn them to sex slaves and all that. But the moment they are aware that all these communities have their own self-defense mechanisms that are appropriately armed, then that will create deterrence, and they will need to go and find something else to do, or they will move to somewhere outside of Yorubaland or cross the border to another country. So that is also very important. And in this endeavor, our baales, our obas, they will also have a role to play. We need to raise the consciousness of our obas as far as community security is concerned. They should be where to report to if there is no police station around when you see criminal elements. And the people in various communities should be conscious of the fact that the Bale or the Oba will be welcoming when they take such matters to them. And they too should be in a position to deploy the volunteer guards to go after whoever poses a threat in their respective communities. There are existing traditional structures that can be harnessed in this regard. The hunters, they have their guides in some states and communities in Nigeria. Where they exist, they can be activated for this purpose. With the OPC and other self-defense organizations exist here and there. Where they are available, there is no point reinventing the wheel. They should be activated, and if their number is not adequate, others should join them, because security is the job of everyone. Now, another important thing I want to talk about is welfare. In the Nigerian Constitution that I cited earlier, Section 14, it says that it is the responsibility of the state to provide security and secure the welfare of the people. So security goes hand in hand with welfare. There are enemies within. So we shouldn't have that notion that those who are coming from outside are the bane of our security. Yoruba people have a saying that bí ikú ilé ò pa ni tòde ò lè pa ni. Ẹnìkan ló ń gbépo lájà, ẹnìkan ló ń gbálẹ̀. In many cases of kidnapping, robbery, and all that, a recurrent decimal is the fact that there was an insider collaboration. And whatever form of insecurity bedevils Yoruba land today, you will also find insider collaboration. We have cases where the Fulanis that are alleged to be behind some threats here and there will tell you point blank that we are not here illegally. It's Yoruba who sold this whole area to us. So you cannot be telling us we are infringing on your farm. We are the ones to tell you you are infringing on our grazing land because we have bought this place. So that is a form of insider collaboration. Talking of these multidimensional threats, we need to provide jobs for our youth in particular. If you are based abroad and you come around and they see you in a beautiful car, they believe you have come with all the dollars in America, in your community, and before you know it, it's the young people there that you are going to talk to about what career path they want to follow, that will arrange for some outsiders to come and kidnap you. Most of these young people, including those who have gone to universities and other tertiary institutions, they experience dearth of opportunities. You see someone that has gone to a polytechnic selling pop-off, hawking pop-off on the street. You see a graduate who has BSc in engineering frying akara. These are anomalies that are happening in Yorubaland today because people do not have opportunities. And therefore, we need to look at how to promote enterprise. Enterprise development in Yorubaland is critical. Most of our people, unlike the Igbos, do not understand how to grow a business. There is one mama that used to sell food for us. We call it tuwo alagbado. When in the early 70s and mid 70s, when I was at Ibadan City Council Primary School, around going towards Apata from around BCJ, the mama was across the road there. She was in just a shed with aluminium roofing sheets. It's not fenced, just a couple of benches. I met her there in 1975. I proceeded to university. I started working in university about 40 years plus.
Hello?
Thereafter, I came back and still found the mama on that spot. Now very, very old. That is quite disheartening. She should have grown. She should have had a bigger restaurant furnished. But our people don't even have that understanding that there is something called business growth. They don't set money aside. They don't join cooperative to grow their business or take loan from a bank. Whatever they get, they spend. They just leave enough to buy another bag of processed corn, and the rest to do the begging for the tuwo. So, and that is the same thing you find in all our communities. Oja this, oja that. Another. You go there 50 years after that oja, when rain is falling, it's a mess. Why is it that they have not grown? And they will tell you they've sent children into university, but what have you done to improve the business environment? A mechanic, once it's raining, he will be looking for somebody's courtyard to hide. It's just there in the open. So there is, I hope the dumb people can intervene. There is need for a program of enterprise development across Yorubaland. If we did, when Chief of Femi Olufunmilade was premier, he made the good use of cooperative system, especially in the agro sector. We need it so that in the market there will be a cooperative that is geared towards building better stores, providing infrastructure, accessing credit for a higher turnover. These things are important in all vocations, whether someone is a welder, whether is a barber, whether is a
Prof.
And the rest of that.
Prof, can we start winding
Professor
down,
Schumaka
Prof?
who wrote a book, Small is Beautiful.
Prof, can we start
winding
down?
And in that book, he was able to explain the growth of. There are basically 3 layers of action to be taken towards securing the Yoruba homeland. Number 1, we need to engage governmental structures at state and the federal level. At the federal level, I've said there is a sort of executive action we can get the president, and that is to provide appropriate weapons for these self-structures in Yoruba land, like Amotekun. The second one is for government to also lies our communities that are vulnerable to establish their own community defense guards. First line of defense against invaders and intruders. And the last one is to look into how to secure the welfare of our teeming youths who are jobless. And I mentioned the need for an enterprise scheme that will focus on business growth and development. So on this note, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. So I'm done. Thanks for your audience, everyone.
Thank you so very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen here and online, can we give another round of applause to Professor Femi Olufunmilade on the topic of migrants' influx into Yorubaland and rising insecurity. He has offered us some suggestions of what can be done.